Hello and welcome back to the channel. Here's a question. What if your Scope 3 emissions report is wrong and you don't even know it? Not because someone made a mistake, not because the calculations are broken, but because the data going into those calculations isn't telling the full story. That's the reality for a lot of organizations right now. If your organization has already started measuring Scope 3 emissions, there's a good chance you've asked yourself one question. Can we actually trust our data? It's a fair question because Scope 3 data is rarely perfect. For most organizations, it's built from a mix of estimates, supplier information, and internal business data, which means the quality of your results depends entirely on the quality of what you put in. In today's video, we're going to look at 5 common mistakes that make Scope 3 data less accurate than it should be, and what leading organizations do instead. By the end, you'll know exactly where your own data might be falling short and the practical steps you can take to improve it. Let's get into it. Before we look at the mistakes, let's talk about why this matters. Scope 3 data isn't about creating a more accurate report. It's about making better decisions. If your data points you towards the wrong suppliers, the wrong products, or the wrong emissions hotspots, you end up spending time and resources solving the wrong problems. So let's get into the 5 mistakes. Mistake 1 is relying too heavily on spend data. Is spend data bad? Not at all. It's where most organizations begin because it's quick, it's already available, and for many teams, it's the only data they have at first. The problem starts when you rely on it for too long. Spend data only tells you how much you bought, not how the product was actually made. Buy the same material from 2 different suppliers, and one might use renewable electricity while the other relies on coal. Your spend looks identical, the emissions don't. Spend data is a useful starting point, it's just not a finish line. Mistake 2 is missing supplier information. Most organizations only receive emissions data from a small share of their suppliers. Some haven't started measuring yet, others report using different standards. Some simply don't respond. Every missing supplier response creates another assumption in your inventory. The fix isn't expecting every supplier to report overnight. It's prioritizing the suppliers who matter most and steadily improving coverage year after year. Mistake 3 is letting data stay disconnected across the business. Finance owns one dataset, procurement owns another, operations have another, your suppliers have another. Scope 3 doesn't fail because organizations lack data. It fails because the data never comes together. Bringing these systems into one place matters just as much as collecting new data in the first place. Mistake 4 is inconsistent reporting. 2 numbers can both be correct and still not be comparable. One supplier might report emissions for 2023, another for 2024. One might report kilograms, another tons. Unless you standardize that information, comparisons quickly become misleading. That's why validating your data, checking reporting periods, units, completeness, and outliers has to happen before any emissions calculations begin. And mistake 5, probably the biggest one, is expecting perfect data before you're willing to act. No organization has perfect Scope 3 data, not even the ones leading the way. What they do instead is improve it continuously. Every reporting cycle replaces a few more estimates with better information. Every supplier conversation improves visibility a little further. Perfection isn't the goal, better data is. So what do the organizations with the best Scope 3 programs actually do differently? They start with the data they already have. They focus on the suppliers that matter most. They validate information before calculating emissions. And every year they replace more estimates with better supplier data. It's a continuous improvement process, not a one-off exercise. Here's what changes once your data improves. You stop asking how accurate your footprint is. You start asking which suppliers you should work with first, which products create the biggest emissions, and where procurement can have the greatest impact. That's the point where Scope 3 data stops being a reporting exercise and starts becoming a decision-making tool. So let's bring this together. If your Scope 3 data isn't perfect, you're not alone. The biggest causes of inaccurate data are rarely calculation mistakes. They're missing supplier information, over-reliance on spend data, disconnected business systems, inconsistent reporting, and expecting perfection too early. Better Scope 3 data doesn't happen overnight. It improves one supplier, one reporting cycle, and one better decision at a time. That's how organizations move from estimating emissions to actually reducing them. If you're wondering where to start, review your current data, identify your biggest gaps, prioritize the improvements that matter most, and build yourself an annual roadmap. Start with whatever delivers the biggest impact first. What's been the biggest challenge for you in improving your Scope 3 data quality? Let us know in the comments. We read every one. And if you found this useful, give it a like and subscribe for more practical guides on Scope 3 reporting, supplier engagement, and corporate decarbonisation. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.